Hello, my name is Juan Calle, and today I am going to show you a project in which I composed and implemented adaptive music using Logic and Wwise. This implementation was done thinking about an adventure game, and all the music in here was composed specifically for this demo. The first step was to define a mood and feeling for the music, and as the game is magical and adventure, I decided to use this simple chord progression as the seed for the whole composition. I composed two different modes. The Explore mode segments are for when the character is wandering around, and the Combat mode segments are for when you are going against the main enemy. Let's start with the Explore mode. I have composed two segments for this mode, and I have set them to play randomly. Each one of the segments has some additional vertical randomization to add variability to the soundtrack. Like this segment, which has this flute inside a random container with an empty track. Which means that this flute will play or not randomly every time the segment is played. Or here in segment 2. Where I have three instruments doing the same melody, and each one of them is in a random container. Every time this segment is played, there will be a random combination of these instruments. To add variability to the Explore mode, I've added a switch to some of the tracks based on the distance to enemy (RTPC). This means that when we are 50 meters in proximity to our enemy, tracks like the strings and percussion will be seamlessly added to the track. This RTPC also controls the volume of the percussion after it has been added into the mix, getting louder as we get closer to our main boss. In this Explore mode, I have also added stingers, which are controlled by game triggers, like when you open a chest, or get a new life, or find a gem. Some of the stingers are random containers that will play a different track every time. The stingers are set to play on the next beat. When the character enters the main boss area, the main state of the game changes from Explore to Combat. As the music for these two modes have different BPMs, I composed this riser that will play before the Combat music. As I want the Combat music to play in the downbeat of the riser, I set this as my exit cue. After the transition is played only once at the beginning inside of this continuous sequence container, I enter into this random continuous group that will play infinitely. There are 4 main segments in the Combat mode that will play based on the structure of this random container. Here I have all the individual segments for my Combat mode, as well as a container that will play them in sequence, and another one that will play one of these 3 segments randomly. Each one of the 4 different Combat segments has vertical randomization as well. Finally, as I want the music to get more intense towards the end of the fight, I have this enemy health RTPC controlling the level of intensity of this combat, which has 2 modes, high intensity and low intensity. Once the enemy is below 60% of its health, the level of intensity will switch to high, triggering a more intense percussion no matter which segment we are currently playing.